Hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. I've recently been asked to do if I could do a scene using the Country Chapel stamp in a video, and someone else asked me if I could do do something with the Cloud with Rising Moon stamp. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone and do them in the same scene. When I used to stamp, when I used to teach workshops, and sometimes people would ask me, one of the things that they get confused about is where to start a composition. A lot of times what I told them to do, if they haven't done scenic stamping before especially, was just, make the process simple. Just pick out some kind of land element. In most cases it would be kind of the focal point in the scene, the main subject matter. In this case, this is a little chapel here. I kind of did this, if I stamped this whole thing like this chapel would be kind of, to the left of the page. This is a quarter-page piece of paper, by the way. So I stamped it off, I centered it a little bit more, and I'm just going to take these trees right here and stamp them in this little area right here. To fill in that area. So you can always kind of dissect the image up and just use it for certain portions. Okay, but what I was saying was, I would have people just kind of pick out a main element and pick out some kind of sky element to go above it. It could be a cloud, moon, sun, I don't know, stars, whatever you wanted to do. And just start from there. Not worry about all the other, filler images until later on. So they can just kind of think about two different areas. Okay, and the second thing what I would have them do is I would have them pick out some kind of color scheme. In this case, it's going to be a nighttime scene, so I thought I would do this kind of in a cooler color scheme. Of a range of blues. This is 4 different blues from Marvy, and it goes from their lightest blue, at least in pad form, to the darkest blue. And that being said, I mean, it's just, if you don't have to use a certain amount, but having kind of an intermediate color, say this jump from this one to this one is kind of extreme, right? So if you have some kind of middle color, it's just an easier blending process and can make the scene look nice and rich in the end result. Okay, but anyways, that being said, they pick out their color scheme, and what I would have them do is pick out on their sky element, I would have them stamp out their sky element in a color out of their color scheme. In this case, I'm going to go with, at least a mid-tone blue to a darker one. If I go with the lightest one, that can happen, but the thing is, once I start blending all these colors over the top of it, if I've stamped this out in the lightest color, then I might lose all this kind of this imagery out here, because these colors would be darker. So I typically recommend going with a medium to darker tone for the sky elements, just so it doesn't disappear with the blending process, or the color application process. Alright, I should have re-inked that one. This pad is a little bit dry. Let's go with the darker Prussian blue. Okay. Alright. And just position it wherever you want it to go. I don't want to go down too far into the chapel, otherwise this imagery right here is going to stamp out right in the middle of the open areas. I can stamp it over the the trees because they're solid. So I think I'm going to go roughly about like so. That little steeple's probably going to be going up in here a little bit. If I do get some color into that steeple, it's not bad, to have a little bit of that in there. Plenty of pressure and center pressuring. Okay. And we have have this area out here again, so much like the country chapel stamp. What I can do is I can take some of these cloud textures and fill in the rest over here, like so. I don't want two moons in this scene, but I can use some of those extra clouds. Okay, so something like that. All right, now it looks a little busy, but remember, we're going to be applying a lot of tone on there, so we don't need to worry about that. Okay. Now, going back to our color scheme, light to dark, start off with your lightest colors. This is a re-inker for Adirondack Lights Aqua. And I'm going to be using a lot of the first couple colors because it gets a lot of coverage. Alright, so I just find sometimes it's just easier to go with the re-inker because then I have it loaded up. It's almost like you're creating a stamp pad on the stylus tooltip, and it just blends and glides really nicely. If I want that moon to stand out nice and light, I'm going to be careful not to go over it too much with too much tone, but sometimes if it's too... I have a couple little specks of area that were kind of still wet, and I'm not letting it set up, you know, on this video, because I have to keep working here, but anyways, so it's dragging a little bit of that color, but it's not something that I really worry about. Okay, so we have a little bit of light on that moon right there, and I have some reflected light down here. Why not go into this chapel and color some of that, the shadows. So it doesn't look so stark white. Okay, and let me say, I think I just inked this up once, right? The initial inking of it, and that pretty much covered the entire card. By the way, I'm using a Kromecote glossy cardstock here, and this is a quarter page if I didn't mention that. Moving on to my next color, without cleaning this off, I just move right into the next one and start applying this. Kind of retain the areas of light that you've established, you know, this little reflected light area. Don't go over it now with the, you know, incrementally darker colors that you use. If I want that moon to kind of remain light and to represent the light source in the scene, I'm not going to go over that too much. So the most color that I've applied is the lightest color, and that's why I use the re-inker fluid, because so I can have a nice saturated stylus tooltip to apply that large area of hue value ink. Okay. Moving up to the light blue, number 10 Marvy. It's called light blue, but I guess that's all relative. It's lighter than the darkest blues, but it's really not nearly as dark as the salvia. Or it's not really as light as the salvia. Did I say that? Okay. Getting around that little steeple. Trying to avoid the steeple. Getting the perimeter darker as I go. Kind of framing off the scene, kind of turning this at an angle, getting it in this small area. And you can see I'm kind of stamping or applying color, you know, at an angle here. This is just easier for me to get in there than to keep doing this. So let's see, let's get a little bit more color in the back of that chapel there, making the chapel stand out a little bit more. Okay. Okay. More tone on the perimeter. Okay. Number 3 blue. That's what it's called. It's just called blue. The darker you take the perimeter, the brighter or lighter your light source and reflected light will seem, you know, due to contrast. And, you know, I mean, if that was truly the light source in a scene, it would be behind the chapel. So this area in here would probably be completely in the dark, but, you know, in a scene like when you're doing scene stamping, like I've said in other videos, you're more like a lighting director on a stage. You know, you can kind of direct the viewer's eye wherever you want it to go. You don't have to have just one light source. You can be like a light, you know, designer for a stage production or something like that, using all kinds of lights and whatnot to direct your audience's eye wherever it might go. You can put light on the star of the scene, which in this case would be the, you know, the chapel. Okay, going to black. And because the image itself is fairly dense, you know, in terms of bold shape in there with those trees, and they are stamped out in black. Black is a good color to finish off this coloring process with, shading process. Okay. When you're in the dark colors, kind of apply sparingly. Stay on the outside edge a lot longer before you take that color in. You know, because you don't want to have big, bold, dark shapes, you know, a streak going across your light areas. It would probably stand out too much. It might be a kind of an obtrusive mark. Okay. We have a kind of a area of tone down there. Why not add in a little bit of texture? This is the Sedge filler stamp. It's kind of similar to the texture that's on the image down here, so that's just done in blue. I don't like that too much. Let's add another layer of it in black. How's that? Especially in the dark areas. And I feel that looks better. Okay. Kind of create a visual path here, and visual opening. Like that. Leads the viewer's eye right to the subject matter. Let's see, I have these geese here. I'm trying to think if I want them flying across the moon. Why not? One of the reasons why I did this large moon is to create more drama in a scene, and I like things kind of going across the, you know, in front of it. It's kind of like that movie poster for E.T., you know. Anyways, let's see. I think a few little embellishments will be nice. Some little foggy softness texture and some highlighting on this. I'll do that in the next video. Okay, thanks for watching.